As we all know, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 is a very bad, unbalanced mess. There are things that are just flat out better than other things, and there's characters that are flat out worse than other characters. A very big part about Garden Warfare 2's balance is the abilities. In Garden Warfare 2, there is flat out some abilities that are just better than their counterparts, and there's a lot of abilities that are just so much worse than their counterparts. And today I'm just going to go over some of the abilities that are just flat out worse than the other options. The first ability I want to talk about is Retro Gatling. The attraction to Retro Gatling is supposed to be a slower fire rate version of the normal P-Gatling. However, with the more damage, you get a slower fire rate. However, the current Retro Gatling that we have in the game is just flat out worse than normal P-Gatling in pretty much every single category. It has half of the ammo as normal P-Gatling, which already off the bat makes this ability straight up horrible. It has almost 50 less DPS than the normal P-Gatling, as well as almost half of the rate of fire, and in exchange for having all those downsides, you get 14 damage per shot instead of 10. This ability is flat out horrible. The rate of fire on it sucks, the DPS sucks. Overall, this is just a straight up downgrade from the normal P-Gatling. Another plant I want to talk about is the Kernel Corn's abilities. The first ability I want to talk about is the Butter Barrage. The Butter Barrage is an airstrike that you can call in on Kernel Corn, and it lays out this X pattern that's just a bunch of explosive butter that each individually do some damage. Now, Butter Barrage alone is not that bad. However, compared to its counterpart, Bigger Better Butter, it is just worse. If we take a look at Bigger Better Butter, as you can see, it is the same airstrike-like ability. However, instead of a bunch of little ones, it calls in one very big piece of butter. The reason that I think this ability is much better than normal Butter Barrage is because of the blast damage. The blast damage on Butter Barrage is only 20. However, on Bigger Better Butter, it is 200. It is 10 times the blast damage of normal Butter Barrage. Now you may be saying, oh, that's because it's only one very big piece of butter. And while that is correct, I think that one piece of big butter is just so much better than the bunch of little pieces. Because 9 times out of 10, you're more likely to get a kill with Bigger Better Butter than you are Butter Barrage. And me personally, I would rather get some kills than little bits of damage with Butter Barrage. Another corn ability that is just flat out worse than the default one is the Multi-Shock. Now, as we know, the normal shuck shot, it is 2 shucks that get shot, each doing 125 damage. Now, if we take a look at Multi-Shuck shoots 6 little shucks that each do 32 damage. Overall, this is just so much worse. You get less overall damage, as well as it is so much harder to hit each individual shuck than it is to only hit 2 on the normal one. The only thing it has going for it is the fact that you get 6 of them, which I don't even think is a pro in this case because it is just so much harder to actually use this ability properly, and is overall just pretty much worse across the board. Now, moving on over to the zombies, I want to take a look at Rocket Jump on the Foot Soldier. Rocket Jump is a single jump that launches you up in the air. Fairly simple ability. However, compared to Rocket Leap, this ability is just so much worse than Rocket Leap. With Rocket Leap, you get 2 charges instead of 1, as well as it does send you up in the air, but it sends you more horizontal. With the Rocket Leap, you are able to bunny hop out of it, so you're able to just keep the momentum and go so much further than you can with Rocket Jump. As well as the height that you get with Rocket Leap is not even that much worse than normal Rocket Jump. Most of the jumps in the game that you can make with Rocket Jump, you can also make with Rocket Leap. Rocket Leap overall just has so much more uses than Rocket Jump, as well as you get 2 charges instead of 1, so even if you do like fuck up your jump, you are able to just try it again. Another very, very useless ability in this game is Ultra Tackle. Now, we know normal Sprint Tackle. You get launched forward and it does a good amount of damage and you get a good amount of distance. It is good for both damage whenever you're initiating a fight, as well as it is just good for overall movement. If we take a look at Ultra Tackle, it just takes all of those good qualities and just puts them to shame. Now, the first bad thing about Ultra Tackle is it has a 45-second cooldown as opposed to the 30-second cooldown of normal Sprint Tackle. As well as the sprint speed is so much slower on Ultra Tackle that it just makes the ability feel incredibly clunky and you're only able to use it like once every fucking 30 years. The main pro to this ability is supposed to be the more damage. Normal Sprint Tackle does 75 knockback damage, while this does 90. While that is a very big increase, the overall slowness of it plus the 45-second cooldown is just not worth it. Overall, Ultra Tackle is just one of those abilities that is just flat out worse than the normal version. Now, the next ability I want to talk about is Turbo Jackhammer. Now, a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on this one, but overall, I think Turbo Jackhammer is a much worse ability overall. However, Turbo Jackhammer is one of those abilities that does have an exception. The main attraction of Turbo Jackhammer is that you get a 2x speed multiplier as opposed to the 1.5 speed multiplier that normal Jackhammer gives. In exchange for that, it only lasts 8 seconds as opposed to the 12 seconds that normal Jackhammer lasts, and has a longer cooldown. Overall, on most engineers, I would say that this is not worth it. The speed can get kind of a little crazy to control, as well as the longer cooldown and the shorter duration is just really not worth it. However, there is one character that is an exception to this, and that would be RoyalUyenRuby. Now, RoyalUyenRuby is a spray character, meaning he can only do damage at point blank range. So the Turbo Jackhammer is actually worth it to use on him because you are able to just be faster than on normal Jackhammer. You're able to get closer to people faster and you're overall just much harder to hit, meaning that Turbo Jackhammer is actually an exception on this character. However, on the rest of the engineers, I can't say the same, just use the normal Jackhammer, except on RoyalUyenRuby. Now this next ability is probably the worst case for an ability just flat out being worse than the counterpart. Now as we know, Garden Warfare 2 has bling abilities. These bling versions are just flat out the exact same as other abilities, but they have some bling. The only exception to this rule is the Pirate Barrel. Now the normal Pirate Barrel has a armor multiplier of 0.188. It's very good for suppressing damage because the barrel just doesn't take much damage. However, for whatever reason, I don't know why this is a thing, the Bling Barrel actually has less armor than the normal barrel. This has 0.25 armor multiplier, meaning that using the Bling Barrel, you actually take more damage than just using the normal barrel. And there is absolutely zero upsides to using the Bling Barrel over the normal one. It is just flat out a worse version statistically. It's not different in any other way besides the fact that it is just worse. This is definitely the worst case for an ability being worse than the default one, because there's no upsides. I still can't get over that. That is just absolutely insane to me. The last set of abilities that we're going to look at is on the Chomper. Now the Chomper has a boatload of different abilities that they can use. As we know, the normal burrow is a fairly good ability. You burrow underground and then from that you are able to jump up and eat a zombie. Fairly simple ability, right? However, there is an alternate version to this called Sprint Burrow. If we take a look at Sprint Burrow, it functions the exact same, except for the fact that it is so much faster and lasts so much shorter than the normal burrow. If we look at the stats, it says the stamina of the normal burrow is 100. Sprint Burrow lasts half as long as the normal burrow. In exchange for that, you get a 2x speed multiplier instead of a 1.6 speed multiplier. In my opinion, this is just so not worth it. You get a 0.4 speed multiplier compared to normal burrow, and it lasts half as long. The only use that this ability has is on one Chomper, and that would be Armor Chomper. Now, Armor Chomper's burrow is already so slow that Sprint Burrow is the only possible way to get like any speed with a burrow. Otherwise, normal burrow is just so slow, it's like almost unusable on this character. And even still, you are able to get away perfectly fine using normal burrow, but if you're going to be using Sprint Burrow, I would only recommend it on this character. But still, even with it being good on Armor Chomper, the ability is still absolutely dog shit. Now, another character that has a different version of the burrow is the Unicorn Chomper. I have a mod on right now which makes him look like Chester Chomper, but it's still Unicorn Chomper, trust me. The Unicorn Chomper has a warp, as opposed to the normal burrow. This warp is better than burrow in almost every single way. If you have a melee class in a game, the best thing that you can have for that melee class is some sort of movement. And default Chompers just flat out do not have that, which in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion makes Chomper as a class overall not that strong. However, Unicorn Chomper and Twilight Chomper completely flip that table. They have their teleports, which obviously, a teleport is movement. This is better than burrow, and it's so much more useful than burrow, because the melee damage on Chomper is extremely high, you really don't even need burrow, and the teleport is just such a good alternative to burrow. Now, the main difference between Unicorn and Twilight Chomper's teleports, Unicorn Chomper gets 2 of them and they are much shorter, as opposed to Twilight Chomper. I know it looks like Chester Chomper, this is still Twilight Chomper, trust me. Twilight Chomper gets 1 teleport that goes very far, as well as Twilight Chomper normally is very quick, and does a lot of damage per bite, but just looking at their burrow replacements, the Twilight Chomper warp and the Unicorn warp are night and day better than burrow. Now, this is just some of the abilities in Garden Warfare 2 that are just better than others. I will not be taking a look at them all today because that would just take so long. But I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We are stupid close to 15,000 subs. By the time this video is going up, we might even have hit it. Spoiler warning, we did hit the legendary 15,000 subscribers. Thank you all so fucking much. I will go over the subscriber goal a little more in depth in the next video. But still, just thank you so fucking much for 15,000 subscribers. So yeah, just thank you all so much for the support recently. It has just been absolutely insane. And yeah, until next time, sayonara.